Okay, let's get a check on the markets. And I've been waiting for the past 2.5 hours to talk to this gentleman. Rick Santelli joins us from the CME in Chicago. I was thinking about you last night as this was all going on, trying to think what I think I know what Rick would think, but what do you think this morning, the day after?
It doesn't surprise me that we technically went over the cliff. It doesn't surprise me that Grover Norquist gave ground cover to what some of the House Republicans did. It doesn't surprise me that the administration, the vice president, the president, did the easy thing. The only thing I think is going to be surprising is how much of a battle that probably gets resurrected in 6 to 8 weeks regarding the debt ceiling. I mean, there has to be some type of an end game for sanity, but I think everything that's happened thus far doesn't surprise me. I guess the most surprising thing I've seen in the last week is why New York fired the general manager instead of the coach, because watching politicians all slap each other on the back while the country slips into a Grecian-like formula isn't surprising.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised the market, at least so far in terms of looking at the futures, has taken such a positive outlook on this?
Well, I don't know. You know, to me, the fair value adjustments in the opening is far from commensurately huge move considering what's going on, in my opinion. Here we are with a move in the fixed income markets. That's because of the move in stocks. I caution everybody to wait till the close because I think some of the intraday outside our time zone noise is going to be moderated a bit. I can only hope that we see 2.5% or 3% in the 10-year. So it looks at more than just an adjustment to higher equities, which it's doing now. Maybe it'll actually start to do the math and, realize we added another, $4 trillion according to the CBO over a 10-year horizon. And I wouldn't trust their numbers anyway. It's probably going to be bigger.
But why do you think the 10-year is actually driven by the price of market forces as opposed to just price fixed by the purchases of $45 billion a month? I mean, I don't think the market prices are reliable on those asset classes.
Up in a room. I like the way you think. The Fed obviously owns a lot of treasuries. But, even what's outside of the lockup, so to speak, is going to have a move. And don't underestimate significant holdings globally of a lot of sovereign debt from boons to gilts to treasuries that a little shaking of the tree could make some of those nervous. But this probably isn't the biggie yet. I think you're going to see some adjustments. I think we're going to see a very compressed move versus what we see now in about 6 hours.
Okay, let's leave it there. Rick, thank you for that. We will see what happens to the markets. And I'm sure
what did you think, Andrew? What did you think? Were you proud of our country's politicians?
No, I was glad that we jumped the shark. Well, we jumped the shark is what I think really happened, and we didn't really get to where we ultimately need to get, and we're going to be having this conversation for the next several months, if not years. So I can't claim this is a great situation, but it's better than
Do you think the president's really going to be able to take his bat and go home and go, I'm not going to talk about the debt ceiling? Do you really think he's going to get away with that?
No, I don't.
I don't think so either. Just wanted to check. Thanks, Andrew.
We're on the same page. Yeah.
Everybody's checking with you today, Corker.
That's
good. Thanks, Rick. Let's get back to our guest host, Doug Dashiell, CEO and CIO of First Principles Capital Management. He referenced the debt ceiling again. I'm trying to get some clarity on whether there are. We heard that. I think that makes sense to me. That Geithner can control
for a few months
when it happens,
right?
And you do the sequester first,
right?
Before you
right, and then he's hoping that he's going to get a lot of big estimated tax payments in the fourth quarter of 2012, paid to him on January 15th. So that they're hoping from all those people that did savvy tax planning, expecting what was going to happen this year.
Politically, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so the sequester negotiations, how will that impact what happens with the debt ceiling?
Well, that's going to be because they won't be spending that amount of money, so that they won't capture that. So
how can each party use it politically, though?
Well, as you heard, they made this. They tried to offset some of the sequestration by Roth conversions and hopefully get additional revenue. So they thought that they were going to offset the 2-month sequestration by additional revenue, tax revenues. By providing this new program to allow people to do 401 conversions to Roths, which would require them to pay taxes. I don't believe that's going to actually occur because most people didn't even do the right thing in 2012 and do a Roth conversion before the tax increase. So I wouldn't count on those revenues.
But what would be the end game? Could the Republicans at this point say, all right, we're not doing the debt ceiling?
Yeah, they could.
They can still say that.
They could say that.
Politically, who will be the loser?
And then you'll get to exactly what happened in the last time we had this in August, where you watch T-bill rates go up to a whooping 30 basis points.
So they say they're going to use it. The president says, I won't negotiate on it. Where does that leave us?
That leaves us to watching people panic about treasuries and watching yields go up. And then when all the legislators see what's happening to the Treasury market and the disruptions in the Treasury markets, they'll do exactly what they did last night. They'll raise the debt ceiling.
And then what is after? And when do we ever get to actual entitlements?
Never.
It's after that, right? I mean, we don't. Yeah.
Right.
So we talked to Corker, and he said he wants to see the entitlement cuts now.
Is that it's the prices of treasuries are not providing the right market feedback to legislators to see how bad the situation is.
Not really
you have to wait till it's an emergency.
We've distorted the prices of those instruments with the Fed's purchases.
Because the Fed's buying everything treasuries
so we're not getting reliable market participant feedback to tell legislators we want you to do something about the debt because we've distorted the price of the debt with Federal Reserve purchases. So if you would right now tell everybody we're going to stop Federal Reserve purchases right now, the market would.
But that's not going to happen, and the Fed has already told us it's in it for the next couple of years. So let it ride.
Cycle of incorrect feedback, of biofeedback to the legislators. They think, look at where the 10-year note is. We don't really have a debt problem. We can continue. 10-year rates are at the lowest levels in history. Mortgage rates are at the lowest levels. We don't have a debt problem. Let's keep increasing the debt.
What do you think Fitch does after this? We haven't talked about
That's a good question. I don't know. Those things are highly I have no ability to forecast the actions of rating agencies since they're like a broken clock.
But does it matter if they do anything?
To me, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to change what the 10-year's doing anyway.
No, it's not going to. No.
Because the Fed's involved.
Right.
So.
That's why it's so hard as an investor. Your typical benchmarks that you use are no longer market determined. So as a result, it's very hard to use. Everybody references those rates. But those rates aren't market determined. I like to call fixed income price fixed and no income. I mean, that's what you're dealing with as a fixed income investor.